Hey, Taco here. Just wanted to go through a pilot debrief of my 8,000 foot flight. Some of the things I did right, some of the things I did wrong. So you can see I'm cut out all the preliminaries and I'm sprinting to take off here. It was nearly a no wind day, probably little gusts, maybe 1 mile an hour, but basically a no wind day. Gave it a good run. A couple of things you're going to see I did wrong right off the bat. Just to let you know that on the way up to 8,000 feet, I do cut the video in several places because it just gets long and boring. I mean, it's 30 minutes of me climbing up, and then I cut it a little bit on the way down, but for the most part, I left it. Now, my Insta360, the reason the video is so crappy this time, my Insta360 is stuck on single lens and I think like auto for the gyro or something like that. Okay, now you see it spinning around there. The problem is it was tight when I took off, and then it's through the vibrations it started spinning itself around, and I look over to check it like I usually do, and I'm like, hey, something ain't right. And here's my second error. Right before I fixed the Insta360, you see my helmet straps are not secure. And I checked everything before I took off, and then I had to go make a quick change, and I took the helmet off, set on the ground, came back, put it on, and realized, and I didn't check the helmet straps again. So that was totally my bad, really stupid thing on my part. The helmet could have come off and plummeted to the ground, or if I crashed, I could hurt myself. I don't think I could get back far enough for the things to give me the propeller. Yeah, stupid move, stupid. Totally my fault. Checked everything else, legs, stomach, torso, straps, something to add to my a loop of paracord. And it's tied off. So it's a double loop of paracord. And I do a lark's head knot. Basically slip the rope through itself, through that ring, and then through my belt loop, and then pull the phone through it. So it's got a lark's head on either end, and it's solid in the middle. So there's two strands of paracord that are holding that thing to my belt. At this point, I could drop the phone, and the line is short enough that I can just reach down and pick it up. It's also short enough that it can't swing back under the netting and get into the car. So the phone is secure. I don't really carry anything else. I do have some water in my left hand pocket, but my throttle hand is there. So it's a bit of a pain to get it out. So I'm probably going to get some kind of chip, sack or something, some kind of flip top thing to put the bottom of the water or something. Because after an hour in the sun, and the head wind, I start to get it. Plus there's that adrenaline. Okay, below me, you see the hospital. Right off my foot is the hospital, and then across the street, the gray roof is an elementary school, and then that blue, kind of shaped like a cross, that's the middle school. So that long road that goes to nowhere, right behind, to the right, middle school in the picture. That's behind me, next to that field. That's the parent lineup group. And I know other paramotor pilots have taken off and landed back there on that strip. That field right now is heading into it. It's plowed up. But that was my emergency landing strip for the engine out on that parent pickup route. So a little bit down the road, kind of towards the middle of the frame, you see there's a solar farm. They're popping up all over the place. This is black rectangles. You can tell some of them are not working, not pointing in the right direction. And of course there's farmers' fields to the north. Now by this time, if I'm thinking right, I'm about 4,500 feet or so. I know when I cross over the Walmart, I'm right at 6,000 feet. So I go down the road a little ways, heading this direction. I do kind of a racetrack loop to the right, spin around a little bit, still gaining altitude. And in the distance, you can see the airport, but if you don't know where it is, you might miss it. That large lake in the distance, kind of middle of the frame, 2/3 of the way up. That large lake in the distance, a little patch next to it to the right. That's the airport. Okay, so I'm just doing another turn. I'm still kind of over the middle school. Coming back across the road. I'm not sure with this angle. I'm not sure if I'm over the middle school at this point or just to the left of the road. So I didn't really get directly on the car. Let's say I did drop it. I don't want it to land in the road, so I try not to go directly on it. If I remember from that, off to the left of the road. If I dropped anything right now, it's landing in the field. I don't know. Continuing to ascend. There's a four-way out there, major four-way, huge car crash. Fatal accident happened many years ago. State trooper and city police officer died. Really didn't want to stop. Okay, now I'm pointing towards the direction of the water. You'll see it like in front of my right knee. On-off ramp that bypass is kind of downhill, right to the left. And I'm getting up close to 6,000 feet if I haven't passed it. Oh, here we go. You can see it. And I won't fly directly over Walmart either. I'll swing out to the right of it, so I'm not right on the parking lot. Worst case scenario, one of my risers cuts loose or the carabiner breaks and just pull it straight. Now, even throwing a reserve, I don't want to line up the parking lot. Try not to. I'm not supposed to. Crowds of people, congested areas, not flying near the Walmart. One of my friends is always posting about Caroline Bays. Caroline Bays are basically they're ovals that generally point from the northwest to the southeast. And you can see a few of the little depressions there that form Caroline Bays. They're all across the southeast. What in particular caused them? No real concrete theory or solution has been posed as to what was it. You can see them in fields and you can see them in stands of trees where they have like trees. Okay, right off my left knee, low-income parking complex. Out from there, you see two rectangles, one large one to the left, small one. That's actually a methane catch facility. I'm not sure where the methane comes from. It's basically Olympic, several Olympic-sized swimming pools. Had to go down and fire there. And right under my left knee now is a large manufacturing plant for some of the products company, Fortune 500 headquarters and administration building. But then they also make thinking glasses, sacks. By now I'm 6,500 feet. Probably getting close to 7,000. Oh, another solar farm. Bottom of the frame, about 2/3 of the way to the right edge. Solar farm. I would put up solar farms, but they never harvest them. Lots of fields there this time. Still early. When I made this flight, it's still pretty early. You might get some wheat that's popping up. You might have some corn 6 inches high from 7,000 to 8,000 feet. This time. You can really see a sense of sky. I think this is about the time when I get 8,000. Still climbing a little bit. I think at this point I'm deciding, I'm looking at the phone deciding, should I should I go up or should I stop? And you can see that barren field off to the left, off my left knee. When I take off at the airport, if I have a problem, I'll just go down there if I need to. And then the airport's to my left, coming up on that. At first I was going to cross the lake up towards Mackie, which is straight across that lake. I was going to cross the lake and then come back down the road and then land. But I was still aiming for 10,000 feet. And I just decided that's it. Those pants I'm wearing are Columbia, like hiking pants. They're very thin, breathable, a little bit stretchy, so they're great for running and running the thermal really stretch a lot. on, I have gloves on, I have my little black hoodie thing on the helmet, which is probably why I didn't get the straps. But it's just cold. I gave up. Particularly because I wouldn't be able to see that haze layer. It kept going up and up and up, and that haze layer was still there. I was hoping to get water. Now, I'm pointing pretty much directly at it. Cut back that way a little bit. But take the cruise control off, but like most of these videos I do with the voiceovers, what I've started learning how to do, I'm going to put this in one channel only, so if you don't want to hear the rear motor going, you just flip your balance to one channel. Shut me up or shut the other motor. There we go. Now I'm starting to cut back.
Okay, I know the machine can take it. Give me a 10, but I'm fucking freezing.
I'm freezing. Yep. At this point, I'm over 8,000 feet, 80, 65, I think, 80, 62 is my height. And I cut it back to, it's near idle. I'm still scared, even though I tested it, I was still scared of cutting the engine off and then cutting it back on later. Even though I had the engine out, and I know it's possible to cut it back on. I was still scared to cut it off, but next time I do a high flight, I'm definitely cutting it off. Not only to save some engine wear, but to save, it's much more peaceful and fun when it's off. As long as you intend it to be off, it's much more peaceful and fun that way. Swinging back to the left, still over a bunch of fields. If something went wrong at this point, and I had to use my reserve, I would float for a long time, I think. Even if I cut my motor off and just glided down the paraglider, it would take a good 10 minutes or so, I think. We're going to find out how long it takes me to glide down. I think the math worked out in 15 to 20 minutes. Makes the world look so small. Day, you might be able to see Charlotte, North Carolina at that.
I can't see. I should be able to see Charlotte or Columbia. There's this haze layer. It's not the camera.
Make sure my lens is cleaned off.
There's this haze layer.
I had to put a new set of lens protectors on the X3. When I butt landed at one point, I scratched one of my lenses and I had a spot in the middle of the front lens. So I had to buy a new set of them and replace them. If you get the X4, if you have not bought an Insta yet, a new paramotor, if you haven't bought one, a new motorcycle, the X4 just came out and they have glass lenses that kind of bayonet mount. You stick them on and turn them about 30 degrees or something and they snap in place. So the X4 has more durable lenses, more durable lens protectors. There's the airport so small. Somebody asked me on the YouTube, what are the legalities of doing this and what are the safety issues? Well, the legalities is Part 103. I'm an ultralight. So if you want to know more about that, just look up FAR Part 103. There's plenty of YouTube videos explaining it. So you can look up what an ultralight is, what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do. Basically, in my area, there's no controlled airspace. So I could go up to 18,000 feet or right under it, 17,999. However, if you go by other FAA regulations, now ultralights don't have to pay attention to it, but physiologically we're the same as all other pilots. Above 10,000 feet for more than like an hour oxygen, and above 12,500 you're supposed to have supplemental oxygen. I think at all times, something like that. So yeah, above 12,000 feet, yeah, I'm not doing that, just because I don't want to run the risk of passing out. I know some people have done it. Chucky Wright's done 17.5. Tucker's done 17,000. There are people that have done, gotten permission and gone even higher. But no, I don't plan to go any higher than 12,000. That's the altitude you skydive from. So it's plenty high. So there's the legalities of it. And again, as long as I'm outside controlled airspace, as long as I'm not flying over crowds of people or congested areas. So I wouldn't fly over a football game, wouldn't fly over a like outdoor concert or downtown during rush hour. Probably not downtown ever. Just bad form. And the FAA's definition of what is congested is up for debate. And if you get a ticket for flying over a congested area, or you go to court, well, it's up to the FAA to say, hey, this was congested because, and then your wallet is in the hands of a judge. So best to avoid it. If you think it might be a congested area, stay out of state. So that's the legality part. Of course, I can fly as long as I have fuel. Now, in mine, I have a smaller tank. I have 12 liters, but they make an 18-liter tank. Our limit is 5 gallons. What that is in liters? Probably about 18. So they make an 18-gallon tank. I don't have that one. The 12 liters is way big enough for me. I think I left with 9, and I landed with 6 or 5. That's the safety part or the legality part. Now the safety part.
Get below this haze layer. I think it's going to warm up, but it's going to get...
Well, I have a reserve. So if anything goes wrong and I start to fall, I can throw my reserve. It's cheap insurance, like a seat belt. It's not that cheap. They're $800-900 depending on what you have. But then with the reserve, I have to look at my out-of-pocket max for my health insurance. If I didn't have a reserve and I survived an awful crash, my out-of-pocket max is $2,600 plus $150 copay for the emergency room, a $400 copay for the ambulance. So you're looking at $4,000 or $5,000 easy. So the reserve at $800 is way cheaper than an emergency room visit. And I got a larger reserve than I originally thought I would need. I was right on the verge. I was right on the line between a smaller one and a larger one. So I bought the larger reserve. Now it'll take a little bit longer to inflate fully, so I need to be a little bit higher if I throw it. But I will land a lot softer than if I was at the top limit of a small reserve. So even the way I fly, I want to do. So safety, other than the reserve. Okay. Where can I go? How high can I go? As far as safety goes, now I'm up here above where a lot of small planes fly. They might go 4,000, 5,000 feet. Small planes don't want to waste fuel getting up to 10,000 feet either. So I'm above where a lot of the smaller planes fly, but I'm getting up to the level where pressurized planes fly, smaller like business jets, big. Now they'll get up a lot higher, but they'll ascend through the level that I'm at. And I'm way below commercial airliners, but I already said Charlotte is off in the distance. Charlotte is off in the distance, and the commercial airliners landing in Charlotte will start descending way before they pass over this area. But they're still 14,000, 15,000 feet usually when they pass this area, but they're off to my left across that major highway that's on the other side of the lake. So I followed flight radar, and I've kind of got their patterns sort of in my head. So I wouldn't left to right across the street, probably 5 miles off or so, is a Victor Airway, which is a military training route, which you can look at on the charts and find. You don't want to be in a military training route hanging around too long, because if you're hanging around in a military training route in a paramotor and an F-18 Hornet comes by at 300 miles per hour, you're going to be bug on the windshield. It's not going to be pretty. So you won't even have time to see a paramotor before you get sucked into the jet engine. So you're speared across the nose of the plane. So big sky, low chance of being hit, but you don't want to hang out in places where you know other planes are going to be. So avoiding other airplanes is a big one in this height. Now, if you're down at 500 feet, 1,000 feet, where a lot of paramotor pilots hang out, you don't have to worry about other airplanes as much. Helicopters, yes. You get a good bit of helicopters in this area. We've got a hospital, the trauma center. On the other side of that airport, we've got a hospital, a trauma center. So you got to watch out for helicopters. Of course, the next county over has a police helicopter or sheriff's deputy helicopter. This time of year, we're also trimming a lot of trees with the lines, so you got to watch out for helicopters. I like flying high because I can see. I like flying high because I have plenty of time to react and fly something different. But flying high brings its own risks with other airplanes. When you're up in the 4,000 to 6,000 foot realm, you gotta watch out for those small single engine planes jumping from little airport to little airport. As you get up towards 10,000 feet, you have to watch out for the larger planes and even some of the pressurized ones at their lower altitudes as they ascend to 30,000 feet. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about airliners as long as I'm not 12,000 feet on the other side of that highway. Okay, so got the airport off to my right there. Just kind of descending back down. We did it on this one. I'm just enjoying it. And you notice it's taking me a lot longer on the video to come down than it did to go up, but I cut out a lot of the going up. I did that for two reasons. Number one, it got kind of repetitive and loud. Just me sitting in the seat. Motor going. It got kind of repetitive and loud on video, and the video size was like 12 megabytes. Like, this is never going to get all I need to. It's going to take way too long. Got the little grass strip just up from the bottom of the street. And that huge green field looks like a good-sized baseball field. even though I've got another 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about landing. If you've seen the short video, you know I sucked at landing. A couple of things. When I took off from that airport towards where I am now. So I took off to the north. So I took off to the north. You'll see me come over the airport in a little while. And I look down at the windsock. The windsock at the airport is still pointing to, it's indicating that the wind is going the same direction. So I should land the same direction I took off. However, I learned the hard way that those windsocks are not always accurate at speeds below 3 or 4 miles per hour. And what had happened during the time that I was in the air was the wind shifted. Even though it was 1 mile an hour, it shifted the other direction. And so now, if I was going to land, I need to land at the airport in the direction I'm currently going. I wind up not doing that. I'm assuming that the wind is still doing nothing or going the same direction because of the wind side. But that wind side is too close. Don't depend on airport wind socks. Get you a paramotor wind sock, an RV wind sock, something like that. Of some sort. So you can fly over the airport and look at your wind sock and say, okay, well, the airport wind sock says the wind is flat. My little wind sock over the top of the car says that I need to land in the south. That was one of the malfunctions. And I asked the guy that I've flown with a few times, that I've met with. I actually got to fly with him. I met with him. But I haven't actually flown with him. And what he got was, it's called a brim here, or crappy gear. And they are flexible fiberglass poles. I don't know what they are. They're flexible fiberglass poles that extend out from themselves like an old-fashioned radio antenna. So they telescope and like a tripod leg or something. And they start off maybe 4 feet long or so, and then they extend out. The one I bought, I think, is 14 feet. I know it's at least 12. I bought some mylar strips off Amazon intended to deter birds from fruit trees. They're really reflective and stuff like that. I'm going to tie them to the end of that fishing pole. And in that way, I can clamp it to the outside of my car. Have it sticking up. I can come in low, doing a touch and go. I can come in low over the airport and look at my inside. That way, the airport wind sock says no wind. And I look at mine, it might indicate, hey, Rufus, you need to come in and land the other way. One of the reasons I fell flat on my face was I landed that wind. You've got to hit that wind, right? You're going to fall flat on your face. The guy I talked to, the Irish paramotor, said, that's why your chute landed in front of you. You came down, you flared, wound up on your face, and your chute landed in front of you. Landed in front of you because you landed downwind. I didn't hurt myself. It was embarrassing. Got this other pilot sitting up, looking at me and coming in face breaking. Also, one of the things he said was I was not getting out of my seat. I need to loosen my seat straps just a little bit and make sure I'm all the way out of my seat so I can land good. I had my chest straps loose. I just wasn't able to hang properly like I should. Harness. At this point, I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do. I know I'm coming down, but I'm too high. If I fly a regular pattern right now, I'm way too high. And so I'll come into the pattern and have So I decided to do what a lot of the general aviation pilots do. I'm going to turn to the right here in a minute and pass over the field above pattern altitude where I can get a good look at the windsock. And then I kind of got myself caught in a bad spot. Because when I pass over the field from right to left, this field uses a pattern that keeps me on this side of that neighborhood. So where I am now on the side of the pattern. Depending on which way the wind blows, use a left or right pattern to stay on the correct side. Basically to keep you away from the military plant, to keep you away from the neighborhood. It's right there by the airport. Just kind of a courtesy to all those houses so they don't complain trying to get the airport shut down. And if you happen to see, you don't wind up in the wetlands. But when I turn around and fly across the windsock, I find myself stuck between that neighborhood and the nuclear plant. And double checked
It's getting hot
radio.
now.
And came in kind of opposite the normal airport time, which was no
Free
bueno.
landing track.
Should've gone around. Three errors today.
Yeah, thermals are
One,
starting to peak in.
not strapping on my daggone
27.
helmet like I should have.
Go out here and I'll go pick up
Two,
the radio.
which just makes me record a video, is not setting up my headstock correctly.
Six.
And then three, not paying attention to the airport. So, one, minor inconvenience for you two. One, potentially bad if I had crashed and my helmet flopped off and I hit my head on something that could have been bad. But thankfully not. It didn't even fall off my head when I flopped over. So it was stuck on there pretty good. And then one, I won't say major, one really just kind of doing the pattern. So there's the nuclear plant. It's going to sit up right here just a second. There's the nuclear plant just on the other side of that lake. Back in the corner. The inside of the lake. Come in over there. Come in over the field. Like 2,000 feet. Try to get a good look at that windsock. See what it's doing. Oh, look. There's my hey dudes. I love flying my hey dudes. They're just so light. They don't feel like I've got a rock on the end of my foot. These particular ones are basically kind of their sneaker ones. Even though they're not tied, they use a kind of bungee kind of system. They're not going to flop off. I'm not going to try to shoot. I do have some of the shorter ones. Shoes. Those I wouldn't fly in because they flop off. But these you actually have to fly on. I like babies because they're so light. I sat in that seat for an hour and a half flying around, or an hour and 15 minutes flying around. It didn't feel like my shoes were going to fall off. And it didn't feel like my shoes were weighing the legs down. I think I'm trying to gauge my glide speed. There was a very distinct thermal layer as I was coming down. It was kind of funny. There was a very distinct thermal layer. It was like all of a sudden, how it got warm. Now, unfortunately, you'll see me start to rock as I'm coming down. You'll see me rock back and forth and start to move around, particularly below 1,000 feet. You'll see me start to rock. By this time it's 10:15 or so. The sun's been up for about 3 hours. the taxiway, you see two kind of lines. This angle, it just looked like lines, but it's two rows of hangers. He's going to park and set up right down near those hangers. And that should have been my first clue. He gets there and sets up near the hangers. He sets his paramotor glider up to take off towards where I am now. So that should have been a clue for me. If he's on the ground and he's setting up to take off towards me, that should have been my clue that, hey, doofus, he's taking off into the wind. If you're landing towards him, you're landing downwind. So that should have been my clue right there. Hey, let's turn around. Go around and then land over the top of him down the field. So here I am. I've seen the windsock. I'm happy with it. Now I'm like, you have to cross back over the airport, get in the pattern, and go all the way around again. And as you see, it's shaking a little bit, so at this point I'm just going to just get me on the ground and done this. Been in the air an hour, and I'm starting to get moving. So what I do is I turn around, trying to get away from the neighborhood, away from the utility, and swinging back around. Those of you who might have found me first time what it's all about and what downwind versus upwind means. Think of it like a boat in a river. If you can paddle your boat 2 miles an hour up a river, but that river is coming at you at 2 miles an hour, you can paddle all day long and you won't go anywhere because the 2 miles an hour that you're paddling is being canceled by the 2 miles an hour of water flowing towards you. But if you turn your boat around and you paddle forward at 2 miles an hour, and the river is flowing 2 miles an hour, then you'll go downstream at 4 miles per hour, so it adds it. It's the same thing in the wind. I'm floating with the wind. I'm powering through it, but I'm still floating with it. So the reason you never want to land downwind in an airplane or an airplane, you don't want to land downwind because if you're already going 15, 20 miles an hour and the wind is coming from behind you at 2 miles an hour, well, it's adding to your speed across the ground, and I think it's adding to your seat rate too. But anyway, it's making you'll have to run that much faster when you touch the ground. Now, thankfully, you're going to flare out and use your brakes and slow down, so you're not running that fast. But at a certain point, you're not going to be able to keep up with it. You're going to flip over. Conversely, if you land into the wind, as you come down, and you'll see it in my second or third video, I land into like a 6 mile per hour wind. Well, my paramotor's stall speed is landing speed is right around 6 miles an hour. So that's what it needs to like just stay aloft. So my paramotor speed, if I'm coming forward at 6 miles an hour and the wind is coming at me at 6 miles an hour, I barely have to take any steps, and that's what I did in my third video. I come down and I land right next to the taxiway. I take 2 steps, turn around and kill the glider, pull the brakes, and step towards it and let it hit the ground. So that was a into the wind landing at a good wind. So you always land into the wind, upwind. I'm going to land downwind and see what happens. You see all this rocking and part of it is thermal activity and wind and that sort of thing. But part of it is when the Instacamera in this mode senses a jog to one side or the other, it tries to correct it. So the lower I get to the runway, you'll see what looks like a pretty good oscillation back and forth. And I'm like, wow, you were rocking like crazy coming in for a landing. Wow, really well. near him, but not too close. Because if I go off track, number one, I don't want to hit my friend. And number two, I don't want his glider getting popped up by my breeze and chopped up in my propeller. I don't want to damage his stuff, and I don't want to damage him. This is when it starts to get interesting from the pilot's point of view. Once you're up at 1,000 feet, you're climbing, you're just moving around. It's like, okay, this is cool. I can do this all day long. If you look at my heart rate chart that I posted on Instagram, this is typically where my heart rate starts to spike again. It spikes right on takeoff because you use a lot of energy to take off. Basically sprinting with 2 pounds of dog, 2 bags of dog food on your back, or a bag and a half. So you're sprinting, then you take off, and then from there it kind of settles down. And then as I'm coming in for landing, my heart rate will spike again. And that's the adrenaline. That's the, oh crap, what am I doing? Am I doing everything right? Am I going to hurt myself? And then, yeah, there he is over by the, near the hangars. And again, at this point, I should have looked and gone, wait a minute. He's set off to take off towards me. He's set up to take off towards me. I should be landing this way. Context clues. Teach my kids about context clues. I should have been thinking about it. What I'm looking at, though, is that white spot of dirt on the right. I'm like, I'm going to land there. So that's where I'm set up. And that's kind of what I've had my eye on the whole time. So that just to the left. And downwind landing and run. Can't keep up.
Pressure.
And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the debrief. And I'll see you next time. Hopefully this week sometime. Yep, I hate landing. Remember, don't go splat.
God, I suck at landing.